Racist police officer humiliates black woman in the market, but is shocked to find out who she is. It was a sunny and vibrant morning in the small town of Brooksville. The local market, known for its diversity of fresh produce and the warmth of community interactions, was bustling with activity. Jamila, a respected black chef who was passionate about cooking, was on her way to the market, excited to buy ingredients that would bring a special dish to life for a community event. Since she was young, Jamila had been inspired by her grandmother, a talented cook who always encouraged her to explore the cuisine of her African roots. Jamila's grandmother was known for her traditional recipes, which were passed down from generation to generation, each carrying stories and memories that brought the family together. Jamila grew up learning to cook alongside her grandmother, absorbing not only the techniques but also the importance of food as a way to celebrate culture and community. On that day, Jamila planned to create a dish that would honor her African roots, using spices and fresh ingredients that she knew she would find at the market. For her, cooking was not just a profession, it was a way to connect with her identity and share her story with the world. As she walked, she passed by fruit and vegetable stalls, stopping to admire the vibrant colors and delicious aromas that filled the air. The market was full of life, lively conversations, laughter, and the sound of boxes being stacked created an infectious soundtrack. Jamila greeted some friends and customers who knew her, sharing brief conversations about dishes and recipes. As Jamila approached an herb stall, she began to choose some basil and cilantro leaves when she felt a heavy gaze on her back. A stern-looking white police officer was watching her. At first, Jamila tried to ignore it, but the feeling of being watched began to weigh on her. The officer's gaze was piercing, and Jamila couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. While Jamila examined the herbs, the officer approached, interrupting her moment of tranquility. "Can I help you with something?" he asked, his voice filled with suspicion that immediately put her on alert. "No, thank you. I'm just choosing some herbs for a dish I'm cooking," Jamila replied, trying to stay calm and composed. But anxiety began to grow within her, and she felt increasingly exposed. The chef's response was not enough for the officer. He crossed his arms and looked her up and down, as if assessing her every move. "Are you sure you're not trying to steal something? You know it's easy for people like you to take advantage of the situation." The officer's words hit Jamila like a punch to the stomach. Humiliation and anger began to build up inside her. "I'm sorry, but I'm a customer here, buying ingredients. I'm not doing anything wrong," she said, trying to stand her ground, but her indignation was clear in her voice. The officer, however, seemed determined to continue the confrontation. He started searching her bag, completely ignoring her attempts to defend herself. "I'll need to check. You don't look like someone who could afford all this." Jamila felt shame rise through her skin, the injustice of the situation making her furious. She knew that her talents and contributions to the community were not recognized by that officer, who saw her only as a stereotype. The idea that she could be accused of theft just because of her appearance was devastating. "Please stop this," Jamila pleaded, her voice trembling. "I'm here to buy ingredients. I'm not a criminal." She remembered her grandmother, who had always taught her to have dignity and fight for justice, even when circumstances were unfavorable. At that moment, the owner of the herb stall, an elderly and respected man in the community, noticed the unfolding scene and approached. "Hey, what are you doing? This woman is a respected chef in our community. She's not a thief," he exclaimed, his voice raised in defense of Jamila. The officer turned to the man but didn't seem willing to back down. "What if I want to see the receipt for your purchases?" he asked defiantly, as if determined to maintain his position. The crowd around began to gather, and the atmosphere of support around Jamila grew. She felt the strength of the community rallying in her favor, even in the face of hostility. Everyone was there to defend her, and it gave her a little courage to face the situation. Just when the situation seemed unbearable, a well-known food critic from the town, approached the scene. He had heard the argument and was there to help. "I know this woman. Jamila is an incredible chef. She has won awards for her food. You can't accuse her like that," he said, his voice firm and authoritative. The police officer hesitated, his eyes moving between Jamila and the critic. He realized he was being watched by the entire community that respected the chef. The power he had felt slipping through his hands. The social pressure and the crowd's indignation became palpable. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't know," the police officer finally murmured, his tone of voice now less confident. He took a step back, realizing he had underestimated both Jamila and the strength of the community. Jamila, although still shaken, took a deep breath. "Don't worry. But I would like you to think twice before judging someone just by their appearance," she said, her voice firm but full of emotion. Her response was not just a personal defense. It was an appeal for respect and understanding. After the critic's intervention and the acknowledgement of the injustice, the tension in the scene began to dissipate. The police officer stepped away, and Jamila received warm hugs from friends, customers, and community members who were there to support her. The stall owner smiled at her, proud. "You are an important part of this place. Don't let this incident discourage you." The experience, although painful, served as a powerful reminder for Jamila of the importance of her voice and the impact her presence had on the community. She realized that despite the difficulties she faced, she had unwavering support around her. That morning at the market turned into a moment of unity, and the solidarity she received was a balm for her wounds. The rest of the day at the market continued with a renewed atmosphere. People gathered to congratulate her on her work and talent, and Jamila began to feel more confident. She chose her ingredients with a new vigor, determined to prepare a dish that not only celebrated her heritage but also the strength of the community that supported her. With fresh ingredients in hand, Jamila returned home, where she began preparing the dish for the event. While cutting, sautéing, and seasoning, her mind was still occupied with what had happened at the market. The memory of the suspicious look and the police officer's words still bothered her, but she knew she needed to turn that experience into something positive. The event was a celebration of African culture, and Jamila was excited to present her recipe. She worked tirelessly, infusing each ingredient with love and passion. The kitchen was filled with aromas that reminded her of her childhood, each smell bringing back memories of her grandmother and the meals they made together. When the time for the event came, she felt nervous but also empowered. At the event venue, the energy was high. People gathered to celebrate culture, music, and food. When it was time to present her dish, Jamila took the stage and looked at the crowd. The memory of what she had faced at the market motivated her to stand out even more. "Today, I am here to share with you a dish that is special to me. It represents not only my heritage but also the strength of the community that supports us," Jamila began, her voice resonating with emotion. She looked at the people in the audience and saw the expectation on their faces, and that encouraged her. She presented her dish with pride, explaining the ingredients and the traditions that accompanied it. As she spoke, she noticed some familiar faces in the crowd, friends and supporters who had stood by her during difficult times. The crowd listened attentively, and she saw smiles of support and encouragement. This was a celebration not only of her food but of her identity and resilience. When she finished presenting, the audience erupted in applause. Jamila felt a warmth in her heart, a sense of accomplishment that momentarily made her forget the incident at the market. She had turned pain into something beautiful, and the positive energy around her was contagious. After the presentation, people started approaching Jamila to praise her. The food critic, who had defended Jamila at the market, came up to her. "You really outdid yourself. Your food is not only tasty, it is a living story," he said, and the sincerity in his words touched her deeply. Jamila smiled, feeling validated. The event became a success, and her food was one of the highlights of the night. People shared their experiences and the importance of cuisine in culture, creating an atmosphere of unity and support. Jamila realized that despite the difficulties she had faced, the community was united and willing to fight for a space that celebrated diversity. At the end of the night, a group of organizers approached Jamila. "We are organizing a food festival for next month, and we would like you to be the head chef. Your presence." Original_text, "Talent and passion are exactly what we need to celebrate our community," they said, and the proposal left her feeling emotional. The news of the food festival spread quickly, and Jamila began receiving invitations to events and collaborations. The incident at the market, which initially seemed like a humiliation, turned into a catalyst for her career. She became an active voice in the community, using her platform to share stories and experiences of injustice while promoting cooking as a form of resistance and cultural celebration. With the support she received after the incident, Jamila felt encouraged to create a mentoring program for young chefs in the community. She wanted to ensure that others didn't feel alone in their struggles and had access to the opportunities she had gained. So she started organizing cooking workshops in her home and in the community space, inviting young people interested in learning how to cook. The workshops quickly became popular, and Jamila realized she had created a safe space where everyone could come together, learn, and support each other. The young chefs began developing their own culinary identities, and the city started recognizing the talent that existed within their community. Jamila not only taught culinary techniques, but also shared her stories and the lessons she had learned along her journey. Over time, Jamila started collaborating with other chefs in the region to create events that celebrated the diversity of African American cuisine. These events became a platform for chefs from different backgrounds to showcase their creations and share their stories. The food festival she had been invited to lead became a landmark in the city. With the help of other chefs and community members, Jamila organized an event that attracted visitors from all over. The festival not only highlighted the food but also promoted the culture, music, and art of the African American community. She remembered her grandmother's words, who always said that food had the power to bring people together, and in that moment, she knew she was doing just that. On the day of the festival, Jamila was excited and nervous. She remembered all the challenges she had faced and how each one had shaped her. When it was time to present her main dish, she felt confident and grateful. The crowd was eager to taste her creations. As she began talking about the ingredients and the meaning behind each one, the looks of admiration and respect were palpable. Jamila realized she was there not only to share her cooking, but also to tell a story of resilience and strength. The response from the audience was overwhelming. People not only loved the food, but also connected with Jamila's message. She was doing more than just cooking. She was bringing the community together through food and culture. The interactions among the participants were vibrant and full of energy, reflecting the diversity and richness of the culture they were celebrating. After the festival, Jamila received many invitations to participate in cooking programs and interviews. Her story resonated with many people, and she became a prominent voice in the fight for inclusion and respect within the food industry. Each new opportunity was a chance to share her message and inspire others to stand up against injustice. Jamila became a respected figure, not only as a chef but also as an advocate for community rights. She used her platform to speak about issues of discrimination and the importance of supporting local and representative businesses. Her story was proof that, even in the face of adversity, community and resilience could triumph. As her reputation grew, Jamila decided it was time to expand her reach. She started writing a cookbook that not only showcased her culinary creations, but also told the story of her life and her fight for justice. The book would be a testament to the power of food and culture, and she wanted it to inspire others to rise up, celebrate their roots, and value their stories. While working on the book, Jamila also began planning a cooking television program that would highlight chefs from diverse backgrounds and their stories. She wanted to create a space where diversity was celebrated and where voices that were often silenced could be heard. The idea of having a show that showcased cooking as a way of storytelling excited her. With the support of friends, family, and community members, Jamila started filming pilots for her program. She wanted each episode to be a celebration of food and culture, highlighting not only recipes but also the life stories of the chefs who participated. The filming was full of emotional and sincere moments, and Jamila felt fulfilled seeing her vision come to life. The interaction with the guests was rich and meaningful. Each chef brought their own perspective, and the conversations that arose were deep and inspiring. Jamila knew she was creating something special, a space where cuisine could be used as a tool to bring people together and promote understanding. After months of hard work, the television program was launched and quickly gained popularity. People were fascinated not only by the recipes, but also by the stories that Jamila and her guests shared. The program became a success, and Jamila was invited to participate in culinary events and festivals across the country. With the success of the program, Jamila decided it was time to take her work even further. She began working on a foundation dedicated to supporting young chefs from marginalized communities, offering scholarships, mentorship, and internship opportunities at renowned restaurants. She wanted to ensure that the next generation of chefs had the tools and support they needed to succeed in the industry. The impact of the foundation was immediate. Jamila received a flood of applications from young chefs who dreamed of following in her footsteps. She dedicated herself to each of them, offering guidance and encouragement. Success stories began to emerge, and Jamila felt a deep satisfaction seeing her protégés thrive. The food festival, which had become an annual event, continued to grow. Jamila became a central figure in the organization, helping to ensure that the event was an inclusive and welcoming space for all. She worked tirelessly to bring chefs from diverse backgrounds and to ensure that African American cuisine received the recognition it deserved. Over time, the festival transformed into a national celebration, attracting visitors from across the country. Jamila felt fulfilled seeing the community united around food, culture, and the celebration of diversity. Each year, the festival became more significant, and the message of inclusion and respect spread even further. Reflecting on her journey, Jamila realized how much she had grown and transformed. The incident at the market, which had left her so wounded, became a turning point in her life. She had used the pain as fuel to create something beautiful and meaningful, and her story now inspired many others. Jamila continued to cook, teach, and fight for equality, always remembering the power that food had to bring people together and tell stories. She became a symbol of hope and strength, showing that through passion and determination, it was possible to overcome any challenge and make a difference in the lives of those around you. The city of Brooksville was never the same. Jamila's story became part of the community narrative, inspiring others to rise up and come together around justice and equality. She knew the fight was not over yet, but with the support of the community and her own determination, she was ready to face any challenge that came her way. Over the years, Jamila also began to explore new opportunities to expand her influence. She was invited to participate in conferences and panels on diversity in the food industry, where she shared her story and addressed the importance of representation. She became a respected and heard voice, and her work was changing the perception of cuisine and inclusion.